Tonight I'm excited. I'm really excited. First of all, who has parked under the building? Good. So you have this ticket. When you leave, you need to validate it. Then it costs 25 shekels and not 85 shekels. Please take it into this machine when you leave. And today I'm going to speak about 6 stages. Wow, I'm really nervous, guys. I'm not kidding. Usually, I'm not nervous because I speak about Express. And then, no one can judge me. Maybe, I don't know. People can judge me through Express, I don't know. But currently, I'm going to share my story about myself. It's going to be a bit connected to Express, but it's also about my journey and how I got to Express, or what to do there, and how to build things. And it's going to be interesting, hopefully funny as well. So let's start. You can't see it, I was a hyperactive kid. I was really hyperactive when I was young. I used to be in 6, 7, 8 different classes, in judo class, and ping pong, and soccer, and basketball, and drums. And I used to wake up in the morning really, really early. And Saturdays, I used to wake my parents up, asking to play Monopoly in English. I did not speak English. I just remembered all the cards and everything by heart. And I was really, really, really difficult to handle as a child that constantly wants to do more and more and more and more things. Now here's an interesting process that I went through. From the ages of 5 to 10, I used to go to judo. I lived in Hod Sharon. I used to go to this cool club with a cool coach. But I never beat anyone in competitions. I used to go to competitions once every 2 weeks. It was in Tel Mond. Always losing first 2 battles and then just going home. But then at the age of 11, the coach here closed the club, and I started training in Ra'anana. If you guys know Shuki Koz, he used to be the coach of the national team as well. And he started training me. Something interesting happened. Okay? Shuki started setting healthy boundaries for me as a hyperactive kid who couldn't control himself. And then he started adding encouragement and instructions of how to become better, how to focus my energy in order to actually result in something productive. And he was really empathetic towards me. Really, really, really empathetic. At the age of 12, we went to England, and my parents split up. So we were about 120 people from Israel going to a competition, an open competition in England. And my parents split up, and my mother asked Shuki to take care of me, to make sure that I'm okay. So Shuki took me in to their room with his family. Him, his wife, 3 little kids, and Noam. Okay? Seeing people. Really, really, really seeing people and their need in order for them to grow and develop. Now, after working so hard with me, at the age of 12, I started winning first places at competitions. Right? A few years before, nothing, never. A year later, or a year into training with Shuki, first places. Then I joined the national judo team in Israel. Then I started winning a lot of gold medals. Okay, I was the Israeli champion at the age of 14, 15. Same child, different coach, different approach. Okay? At this age, I learned that I can improve. I'm not only talented at different things, but I can also improve and I can also reach things, which to me was amazing to see. Around the same age, at the age of 16, I also started speaking English. But that's another story. Okay? At the age of 16, I hurt my back. I could not do judo anymore. My career was over. And then I cried for a year, taking a child that for 10 years was doing judo 6 times a week, plus going to the gym for that. And then one day you cannot do judo anymore. So I started looking for things to do, like haircuts. That's actually what my father used to do to me, or for me, depending how you look at it. I used to do a lot of funny things, like arrows and other things. And at the age of 18, I enlisted to Mamram. I wanted to be a madasnik, but I couldn't because my profile was 64. So then I passed the test, and I got to Mamram. And people around me were smart, really smart. I was a hyperactive kid, basically, that couldn't sit still. And they were just amazing, being able to control themselves, to control their feelings, really were amazing role models. And I told myself, I want to be like them. Where do I start? I'm not sure that I was able also to articulate it this way, but something like something like this thing in the future. At the age of 19, I wanted to improve my ability to speak to women. Okay? So if you know these courses, I went to one of them. This is actually a good guy, but there are not so great companies. I went to one of them. I did improve my self-confidence. I did improve my interpersonal communication skills. And I did set some boundaries, especially towards them, because they asked us to do some nasty things. So I understood that I also decide who to follow. Some people may come with a lot of power, but they don't have the right values, not the right set of values. So I decided who to follow and what to listen to. I did get a lot, but I wouldn't follow everything they would say, which is amazing for me. And at the age of 20, I started working on myself, and I started discovering self-development, okay? Because I wanted to improve and grow. I had a friend from Amram, his name is Nitzan, and I went to, I don't know if you guys know Humanication, for example. There are a few centers like Landmark and other places where people go and they have like interpersonal development workshops for a few days. And my sister came home one day and she said, I just signed up for a certain workshop. And my commander also said that, like a day before or something like that. And I said, I want to do that as well. And I wanted to do it in my kiva. But then I said, never mind, I'm just going to do it right after my sister. So in the course of 3 months, my sister did it, my mother did it, and then I did it, which has tremendously changed the communication in the house. We wouldn't fight on nonsense anymore. So this guy, Nitzan, when I told him I want to improve myself, he told me, you're going to improve here, but it's not going to be in the way that you think you're going to improve, because I was thinking of learning more things. But here I was about to experience something else. Okay? So it wasn't about information anymore. It's about transformation and changing something on the inside, changing the way I do things. And I learned through that experience or through that workshop, it was a 5-day workshop, where basically we learned, for example, one of the exercises was to stand in a circle with people giving you negative feedback based on nothing, only the way you look like, and you have to look at them and to say thank you. Thank you, thank you. And then another group, and you stand there and they give you compliments, which is really embarrassing, and are based on nothing, only your appearance, and you have to say thank you so much. All sorts of these experiences which have transformed the way I was thinking back then. Changed the communication with my friends, with my family members, and other things. And then I learned, wow, I can actually transform myself. My relationships, my communication, my connection. It's more about I can find experiences out there that if I go to this experience, I walk out a different person or a better version of myself. But it wasn't like I need to read a book and I need to understand it and one day I'm going to do it. It was more like a gym, but for my soul. A gym for something on the inside and for my mind. Okay? Next step. I told myself, okay, I'm going to change a few more things. I was a bit shy of cameras. I took an acting course. I wanted to dance salsa. I went dancing salsa. I wanted to do acrobatics. Started doing that as well. Okay? My schedule was full of activities. I wouldn't watch TV. By the way, I almost never watch TV. I don't have a TV in my apartment. The coaches know. But I just day and night used to do things after the army. And then one day, at one of the avtashim that we did in Kibbutz Erez, I picked up this book, Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Has anyone read this book? A really good book to read. You guys know about the amygdala? Amazing. How we feel in different experiences and different situations is stored here in this tiny, tiny, tiny database. And in order to change how we feel in different situations, if, for example, as kids, we went through a situation or through something in life, and we felt bad about it because we were unconfident, because our parents didn't know better, because other people did something to us, then we would have a negative feeling over here. Then in order to change it, it's not enough to understand it. We need to do something else on the inside. We need to experience it again in a really good way. Does anybody like hummus here? Trina, cottage cheese, vegetables, for example, or even Dani. I wouldn't eat all of these until the age of 21, sorry. I didn't eat them. I would be disgusted from them. All vegetables. At the age of 16, I started eating cucumbers. That's it. Only carrots and these kind of things, I would eat them only when they're cooked. Sweet potatoes, carrots, none of the fresh vegetables, none of any, like many other things. I would not eat a lot of things, and it was really difficult to feed me. Okay? Yeah. And then I learned about the corrective emotional experiences, just like I had at the other workshop that I told you about, that we have to stand here, and then if people give you negative feedback, you don't lash out at them and shout at them, but you learn how to accept it, and if and when you also wish to give them feedback back or not. But that was a corrective experience for me. I learned how to do corrective experiences with food because of this book. This book was amazing. Here's an example for something. Coaches, listen well. SDRs as well. I would take a piece of bread and a tiny, 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 tiny piece of white cheese with a spoon, and I would touch the tip of the bread as if I have there cheese, and I would just eat it with a smile on my face saying ta'im li. And we just do it over and over and over and over and over again. And then I would do the same thing with cottage, or each day I would do it more and more and more and more and more. Understanding here that if I do it enough and my amygdala registers, wow, what a wonderful experience. Just like when we drink black coffee and it's an acquired taste, or beer, and then we get used to it, same thing. I had to reacquire all these flavors. Then I went to tomatoes. Too much, way too much. Almost threw up, too much. What do we do, coaches, when something is too high? Breaking it down. Now, this might be ridiculous, but I had to take all the seeds out of the tomatoes, to take small pieces and to put them on the bread, which sounds ridiculous. Sounds ridiculous for grown-up people to do such a thing. It sounds ridiculous, but the amygdala doesn't care. Just like when we're afraid of different things at Express as well, we need to treat ourselves and break it down to that extent. And sometimes it is ridiculous, and we need to be compassionate with ourselves, even in these cases. Okay? Half a step ahead, break it down, always tiny, 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 tiny steps, and then go back. And thankfully, I eat all these things today and way, way more. That was just one thing. One more is, for me, I was really sensitive, emotionally sensitive. Everything that happened, I would get really angry or sad or whatever, but I didn't know exactly why. Here's another thing, another exercise from this book. By the way, this book has amazing exercises for kids as well. How to teach kids different things. Here's an example. Every round hour of the day, write down, stop for a second. Try to understand what your emotion is, and then try to associate what happened that made you feel that way. That's an interesting one. And then after a few days, you're like, now I can notice. That person now yelled at me. That's why 10 hours later, I'm pissed off. So then I can shorten the time that it takes me to overcome it. I used to do that a lot. Okay? Now I can create, not only find amazing experience that will transform me, I can basically do it on a daily basis. I can on a daily basis find tiny, 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 tiny experiences that change how I feel. Okay? Age 21, I found out that there is something that's called NLP. These days, everybody does NLP. It's amazing. Back then, it was pretty new, and I learned it online. And if you're curious why we need to stand up, go to the kitchen, make coffee, say this table, that table, and all these kind of things, it's because it's not about understanding it. It's something else that needs to happen. And if you guys need to speak to English buddies or to other things, it's about something else needs to happen here in the back of our minds in order for us to feel differently about different events. Not to think differently, but to feel here. Now, we can also change the way we think that triggers these things, but sometimes it's so ingrained in the mind so deeply that it's really difficult to change. Okay? And that's why here at Express, we don't care about these things. We care about practice by doing and teaching others. This is what we do here. You remember Emil and Kaza? Amazing. Now that I know all these things, I Googled how to PDF and downloaded all the books I could find. How to sleep better, how to have lucid dreams, how to speak clearly, how to lose weight, guitar, card tricks, and magic. Hundreds of books. And I would read them and try them and read them and try them and read them and try them on myself and other people, anything you can think of. Okay? And since I remember myself, I would try to help others as well, mostly by explaining things. I'll give you an example. This is Matvey. This is the programming course. He used to weigh like 50 kilos, but it's irrelevant. And he used to smoke about a pack of cigarettes a day in programming course. Programming course is a course you arrive to the base at 7 a.m., you finish at 8 p.m., and you have like short breaks. And you used to smoke like a pack a day. And I used to tell him, stop smoking. It's bad for you, whatever. But nothing helped, of course. And then 6 months later, he came to the base again. He told me, I stopped smoking. And I'm like, no, you didn't. And then he told me, I read this book, The Easy Way to Stop Smoking. I don't know if you guys know this book, but I then read the book myself. This is my first book, the first book that I read as an adult, and in English. And I was fascinated. I was mostly fascinated because I never smoked myself, and I didn't know what I'm preaching. And I thought that I'm doing good, explaining things, and they will understand, they will stop. Of course not. But this book was amazing because I then bought, this is a photo from today, but I back then bought 4 copies, and I printed a table of my name, my phone number, my email, whatever, and I gave them away to people, and people stopped smoking, and then they would call me, thanking me, and I was elated. That was amazing to me. And I said, okay, that's amazing. About 30 people stopped smoking or called me, and then I lost the books. But I understood the change didn't happen from me, but through me. I wasn't doing something of my own. I was kind of like taking something and channeling it. Here's something interesting. Because I didn't know how to do it myself, of course. Have you guys listened to this lecture? Okay, this is, I think, the best lecture I've ever heard by Jim Rohn. And I started listening to him at the age of 22 or 3. And I understood that I can help other people grow. Jim Rohn says influence is one of the greatest life experiences. The chance to influence somebody else, their thinking, their future, and maybe their lives. And I got hooked on that one. And then one of the best, utmost sentences I've ever heard is work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because if you work harder on yourself, then the job becomes easier, and you become easier, and life becomes easier. So at the age of 23, I became a team leader of 8 people here. And we were like two teams in one department. And I knew that explanations don't help people change or grow, but I started thinking to myself, what experience would help them overcome different things? Well, when you have a team and you want to help them grow, and you need also to do professional things and social-related things, social activities, okay? So I thought to myself how I can help them, and I started using both professional and social activities. So for example, people who were more shy and they wanted to work on it, but they didn't know how to, then we used to give them funny things to do to the annual event that we had. Then they started doing things like that. You had like, do you know Like a Boss? The song, Like a Boss, ta-ta-ta, like a boss. Do you know this? Not sure, never mind. We had one of these, okay? We had other cool things. I was able to dress up as a bunny at one of the misdarim that we had there with the rasar. And we used to just structure or to create different experiences to help people also grow, which to me was amazing because I'm like, okay, that works. And everybody told me back then, one day you're going to be doing something that is related to self-development, languages, and people. Because I used to work on my languages as well, and I learned Russian and Spanish a bit, and I was all around these things. And yeah, 15 years later, it was about Express. Okay? Now, I told myself, I'm going to make money from tech, and then I'll do whatever I love to do. And then after traveling for a year in New York, and then living in New York and working full-time plus a startup that I had in New York, came back to Israel, tried to raise money, did not work. Eventually, I quit my job and I started Express. And I started teaching Hebrew because I didn't know how to teach English. Okay? I wasn't sure what I'd like to create and what exactly it's going to look like, but I just started moving forward. And just like you see that you need to live your lives, I used to host different experiences in different places with old people, with young people. Just used to take them to different places and just to learn Hebrew there. But I was looking for a behavioral change. As we said, not something that changes here, but something that changes in the way we behave. And I started working hard and hard and hard. The coaches know. My house is full of boards. Boards everywhere. Living room, rooms, everywhere. And we just map everything all the time. And this is something that I can tell you that I'm so proud of myself. There is this quote that I told the coaches as well, I think last week. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Hatmada. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Meaning you can have talent, it doesn't make you successful. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb, meaning even if you're a genius, it doesn't mean that you'll succeed. And persistence and determination alone are omnipotent, meaning all-powerful. By Calvin Coolidge, he was the 30th president of the United States. There is another part, but it's missing here. And here's something that I worked on for 5 years. I actually solved the Rubik's Cube by myself with no help. So while doing this thing and building everything, one of the things I told myself is, okay, if I can solve this thing, I can also solve these kind of things, because it's kind of like trying to look for the right thing, and then getting a result, going back to the board. A lot of persistence. And I was able to solve it, and was really happy. Second time I solved it, the first time took me about 5 years. Second one took me a few months. The third time a few weeks. It's improving. I then took it and did the same thing in English. Started teaching English the same way, just home, and I would just bring friends over, people who were willing to pay, and to make coffee and food with them. That was the fifth one, help others transform. Okay? Now, this is something we spoke about a few times. This was the map that I did back then. But after, or around 2022, after building the program and everything, now we need to train coaches. And I didn't know how to train coaches. I knew how to train myself. I know how to help people. I don't know how to make more people do that. And I called the coaches that trained me, because I had my coaching certificate. And I called them and asked for help. And I told them, would you like to train them? Or could you help me? And they asked me, what would you like us to train them on? What would you like us to do? And I started listing everything. Listing. And then I told myself, oh, I know what I need to do. I'm just afraid of messing it up. So I just started. And I messed up a few times. And the rest is history. Now, this is my story at Express. This, I'd say, stage is to pass it on, meaning that it's not only about me. because now we have more people who can coach people and who can actually do that. And now also when you guys leave here and you guys have it on yourselves, something has changed within you. Okay? I want to say happy 37th birthday to myself. And that I'm really proud of myself for this journey. It's really cool. And I'm looking forward to the future. And I want to thank you guys for being a part of my journey. And enjoy the evening.